120 seconds. 110 seconds. 100 seconds. 90 seconds. 80 seconds. 70 seconds. 60 seconds. 50 seconds. 40 seconds. 30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Nothing like live radio, huh? Live TV. We'll be all right. It's Morning Talk, my friends. Once again, of course, it is indeed time to get our talk on. Morning Talk with me, your host, J.C. McCauley, along with the champions of talk. We've got joining us remotely this morning. Both of our co-hosts are joining us remotely, but our guest is actually joining us here in studio. So it's somewhat of an interesting way to start the program off. We do have Cacique in the house. We got Dr. Bowen in the house. Dr. Bowen, how you doing?
Good morning. It's Wednesday. All is well.
Buenos dias, mi amiga.
Yes, buenos dias. It's an awesome Wednesday. You know, we got a little touch of that snow. I'm glad it wasn't more than what they, expected, but it's all good. I'm ready to go. Midterm grades got to be submitted. I got a class that has some final grades that are due, and so I'm ready to go. And good morning to everyone. Cacique, guest, Ian Stan. Let's go.
All right, Cacique.
Hi, Stan. Good morning. Good morning to all.
Good morning. Good morning.
Ahom, Taino Daka. That means greetings. Ahom means greetings, and Taino Daka means I am Taino. I'm here in the land of my birth family, and I want to extend a wonderful greeting and blessings to my family, the Delgado Roman family here on the island of Borinquen. And greetings to all.
All right. Joining us from somewhere in the Caribbean, the one and only Cacique. In studio 1A, our special guest joining us this morning, none other than Mr. Christopher Dukes.
Good morning, champions. Let me tell you, I am honored to be here with you. You know, I listen to you on a regular basis. I call in sometimes. I'm just so happy to be here with you all today, and I'm looking forward to a very healthy, productive conversation that I hope the community and the individuals who are listening will fully enjoy and appreciate. Looking forward to getting to work.
All right.
What's up, Chris? I think we're just as excited, if not more, to have you, man. You're doing some wonderful things out there, and to be honest, man, we just can't wait to hear about some of that, man. So yeah, welcome, brother.
All right, my friends. So I hope you all out there had a good day. Half the state got a day off, even though there was no snow. But I guess for the people that did have snow, it was serious. You know, when you don't have to suffer from a thing, it's not so bad. But if you're the one suffering, it's a whole nother subject, a whole nother story. A whole nother story. We'll talk a little bit about Brother Chris's situation here in the state of Connecticut and the implicit bias, the unfairness, the almost nigh unto RICO stuff going on here in the state of Connecticut. But, of course, for our program, it isn't how many that watch, it's the who. The who. So,
All right.
the great who we're watching this morning. So welcome to the program. It's been a long time since you've been here.
Yeah, it has been. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to come here. I had an amazing weekend, and I know you wanted to talk to the champions as well about their weekends as well. I had one of the best weekends I've had in quite some time, and got a chance to celebrate a special birthday for a young lady who is near and dear to me. She turned 23 and had me join along with her mother for her birthday celebration. And it was good for me because I got away for the first time. I disconnected from all the things that have been going on, and it gave me a chance to recharge my batteries. But now I'm back in the saddle. So for those in the state, those individuals who perpetrate lies and abuse their power on a regular basis, watch out, because here we come. I'm ready.
All right.
That's what I'm talking about, Chris. Yes, brother. Yes.
Let's go.
I got a quick question. You know, and being in education, one of the major things to me that is very, very striking in terms of having an understanding of what concepts mean. So, for example, we give out syllabi in terms of our courses. Now, having said that, it's not guaranteed that students will, first off, read the syllabus, second, understand what it is that is contained within said syllabus, where it is that they do decide to read the syllabus, and then third is whether or not they will come to you to ask questions where there are gaps in understanding. So my very first question for you, Chris, I hope you're ready, and I know you are. What is your definition of transparency?
Oh, wow. My definition of transparency is limited access legally. And what I mean by that is anything that you are not required to conceal, required by law. For example, FERPA, and I won't go into a full, or HIPAA, I think is more familiar to folks. If you are allowed to give access to the information, you give it, especially when it's in a public institution or agency or so forth, you give it. Why not? Public dollars, taxpayer dollars are being used to do the business. So if somebody wants to see a level of transparency, whether it be in policing or some other, provide it. It's public information because public dollars were used for it. So I believe in being fully transparent. You should be doing the business of the people, whether they're watching or not, with honor and integrity. So again, the definition for me, I think transparency is truly being transparent about your dealings in your business.
Awesome. That's deep, because when it is that we're dealing with individuals that hold positions, from your experience and what I do know based on the journey you've taken, is it a fair statement to say, or rather ask, well, let me make it a comment. Is it a fair statement to say that transparency along your journey has been lacking?
That is a very fair statement, but let's be even more specific with it. I have been completely transparent in my dealings in this situation. It is the Hartford Police Department, the State Attorney's Office in Hartford, Central Connecticut State University, the family courts, the Attorney General's office, who have not been transparent. And they are intentionally not being transparent, because if they were transparent, the public would be fully aware of their egregious mistakes, their egregious misconduct, their wrongful or wrongdoings that they've had along my case and others. See, that's the problem. You put a stop to my case, then you prevent your image, your true image, coming forward to the public. And there comes accountability. So the actions of the state and people in power are limit transparency in order to avoid accountability.
Interesting. I like the fact that you just brought up accountability. So recently, as of last night, I heard someone state that an organization or person can't be held accountable when it is that they are not seeing themselves in relationship to a person or another organization, due to the fact that they have no relationship with said person or organization. So the question then becomes, then how does one hone in on taking accountability if that personal organization does not believe that they have a relationship with you, or doesn't have community, or hasn't developed community with you? So I'm just throwing that out there from the perspective that it got me to think that, if it is that we're going to hold individuals accountable, or whether or not they see themselves as being suitable for being held accountable, the question becomes, do they even think that they are part of a community where it is that there's a relationship that has been developed so that accountability is actually there? It just got me to thinking. So you brought up a good word when you spoke about accountability.
Kasike, what are your thoughts, sir?
Well, Chris, I think that for me, there's collusion. There's other criminal charges that can be brought against the university and the state, because they all work for the same organization. So I think that someone, the feds or someone, need to look at the possibility of RICO, the Racketeering Act. Having these people be charged with that might help to loosen up some of that, pushback and stalling and all these games that they're playing. We just want, like you stated and Dr. Maya stated, right? We just want accountability, and we want, complete and total. We just want everything out in the open. You know what I'm saying? So then people can make decisions based on information, not on half truths and statements that omit information. So I'm definitely, all over that, man. But the other thing is that we also have to entertain the idea, brother, and I mentioned this to you before the show, that the Supreme Court has given permission to police officers to lie to suspects or defendants. That's what they call it, but to regular folk, right? While carrying out their investigations. So, we don't even know who's in cahoots with who. That's why it's hard for the state police to investigate themselves or Hartford police to investigate themselves. We always want to have impartial parties come in and take a look at whatever is going on so they can render an impartial decision.
Right. And as I said before we went on air, if those in power only practice what they preached, oh my goodness, what a world we would have here if they would only practice what they preach. With the platform that I'm being provided, and I will continue to be provided, especially over the next couple of months, I will have that opportunity to be transparent in the way that someone like a William Tong refuses to be. Okay, the person that we're seeing on TV is not what's truly happening behind the scenes. And I want to go back to what you said regarding, and I'll use, again, I like to give evidence and not just anecdotal or emotional responses to things.
Absolutely.
So the federal government, I filed a complaint with the FBI over 3 years ago concerning the state's lack of transparency and accountability and enforcement of its laws. As you know, I had my own Emmett Till experience back in 2018. We're coming upon the 5-year anniversary that my ex-wife swatted me and my children, faking a 911 call, causing a malicious prosecution. Actually, I was supposed to be in trial this morning, but another delay in justice. We are now delayed to March 24th, where she is being sued in civil court for malicious prosecution. I'm finally getting a day in court as a plaintiff, which has been delayed for 5 years. Now, back to the federal government. I filed this report with the FBI. Do you know how courageous it is to walk into the FBI as a black man and say, these individuals, these high-powered police officers and so forth, have created these injustices, and they've committed crimes against me and my children, and I want you to do something about it. As of today, to my knowledge, the FBI has done nothing. They had another meeting with me back in the fall, after I've been flooding them with all of the evidence. And filing a false complaint is perjury. Well, it's perjury. It's a felony. I haven't been arrested for felony because they know I'm telling the truth. They are just selecting not to hold the police officers in Hartford and the state attorney's office. Richard Colangelo, is one of the chief state who ran to retirement about this. He should have been under an investigation. Also, he should have been charged for covering up what Assistant State Attorney Vicky Melchiori did and covering up this Emmett Till experience, as I said. And again, I don't mean to diminish Emmett Till's situation because Emmett Till died. I didn't. Yes. My children and I survived, so I don't want to take anything away from that, but it was the same formula. A white woman falsely accusing a black man of serious crimes. Well, Emmett Till, again, it wasn't a serious crime, but back then it was considered that, at least amongst the white community. So the point is that what I learned back on Martin Luther King Day this year, I was in a congregation. William Tong himself came and spoke before an almost full black congregation of individuals professing or taking credit for how it was his behind-the-scene conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris when she came to visit Connecticut. It was because of his backdoor influence that nudged her to be able to put U.S. Attorney Avery in power now. So I'm wondering, is that the reason why the Department of Justice won't take my complaint serious? Because is it possible that U.S. Attorney Avery owes William Tong a favor, and therefore that's why she and her Department of Justice is not destroying them on all of this evidence that we have? That's the question that I have.
Well, I think the other thing that comes to my mind prominently, and I think a lot of other people, Chris, is the fact that Colangelo, although he was investigated for crimes, he was allowed to resign instead of being prosecuted.
Exactly.
And I don't understand that. How can that happen? I've been involved in a couple of car accidents, and whatever. But nobody's ever told me that I could just, walk away like he did.
Right. And
we need to be really concerned, because that was a pattern of behavior that I spoke about many times on the show in the past. Police officers who have committed crimes, killed people, had bad car accidents, they beat people up. Once they were a prosecution was attempted, all they had to do was resign, and all charges were dropped.
Correct.
That's where all this immunity came from. You understand? From the police. So we have to look into that also. Why did this man, if he committed crimes, or he knew about crimes that were being committed and did not act on that, why was he allowed to resign? And the second question is, now that we know that he did this, why isn't he being prosecuted right now?
As Paul Mooney would probably say, he has the complexion for the protection.
No, that's over. That's all over now.
Oh, he still has the complexion.
No. But it ain't going to protect him. If anything, it's going to find him guilty. Yes.
Right. It is
use
because,
that anymore.
Right. Our
because
governor.
We are demanding accountability, and we're not having that anymore.
Right. Our governor and our attorney general elected to allow him to retire. Just because he retired doesn't do away with the crime. He still should have been investigated.
That's why I said that the federal government, Chris.
Yes.
That's why I said that the federal government should entertain the idea that this is RICO related.
I agree, and I believe
it's all interagency, but it's really one agency. It's a state.
Exactly.
And if there's a group of managers and people in the state government that, under the guidance or knowledge or no knowledge of the government, because ignorance of the law is not protected from it, right? And they're committing crimes against citizens, right? Or they're allowing crimes to commit against citizens, and they are willfully, knowingly, and consciously not investigating or prosecuting people. That's all criminal. You don't have to be a lawyer to know that.
I agree. And again, now there's a family that I've come to know and supporting in another capacity. This is the family of Stephen Barrier. Stephen Barrier was a 23-year-old man who died on his 23rd birthday after having an encounter with police. Stephen was suffering from a medical issue. The police were called for this medical issue. Stephen, upon seeing police approaching his house, was scared and started running. The police pursued him as if he was a bank robber. It was a medical call. Let him run, right? Let him run.
Yeah, no, they wear himself down. He's not hurting anybody running.
Exactly. He had not hurt anyone. And let him run. No, they chase him down. The cameras go off. The body cameras go off. The next time we see Stephen Barrier, he is face down on the ground. He is handcuffed. No one knows how he got handcuffed. No one knows how the pursuit stopped. No one knows. And the reason why no one knows is because not one camera was on. Not one officer documented what happened while the cameras were off. Stephen Barrier, after he could not walk. They had to carry him. I believe 2 officers on the legs, 2 on the arms. It was downpour rain. The officers are heard on the camera saying, "We should roll his ass down the hill."
Wow.
You're talking about rolling down a man. You are to protect and serve. Where is that?
Right.
In there. Let's roll him down the hill.
These guys, see, for me,
yep.
Cameras, the cameras are great.
Yes.
Because they allow us to see crimes as they're happening, either by the
Transparency.
individuals or the police, right? But I also think, brother, and I would love to get some feedback from my colleagues and from my viewers and listeners, but I think that any officer that shuts his camera off should be prosecuted the same day.
Well, I'll tell you,
charges should be brought up and followed up by, because the only way we're going to stop these officers, because what's the use of spending all these hundreds of dollars or even millions of dollars on cameras and equipment when they flat out refuse to use them?
Right.
So they should be prosecuted.
Right.
Prosecute 5 or 10 of them, And I guarantee you that nonsense will stop right away.
Right, but what's happening is also
because they protect each other.
Right,
criminal organizations, their job is to protect each other. It's not to come out and tell citizens, oh, we stealing, or we did this and we did that. We got to stop that. And the police departments in a lot of cities are criminal organizations.
Right. And so again, now they get Stephen Barrier to where the cruiser is and the ambulance. Remember, it's a medical call. A decision was made right there by the sergeant. He's not going on an ambulance. He's going to jail. And they took him to jail. Stephen Barrier died hours later. He died.
And those people
they try
are still walking around and nothing happened.
Exactly. Nothing happened to them. Why? Because Richard Colangelo oversaw the investigation, sees all these gaping holes, and he signs off protecting every officer involved in that incident. Stephen Barrier's mother, Miss Valerie, is still grieving the loss of her son because of this cover-up. So again, when we talk about transparency and accountability, it should always be there. Don't you know, if Stephen Barrier had pulled a gun, if Stephen Barrier had pulled a knife, those cameras would have still been running, it still would have been showing, and they would have shown the officers using the use of force necessary to stop him, and they would have put that all forward. The issue is we need to, and I've learned this from Stan, that the power is not just what's said, it's what's not said. And currently what's going on, I hope we can shift the conversation to what's going on right now at Central Connecticut State University and the Attorney General's office, where they are attempting to, they filed a motion for summary judgment to get my lawsuit dismissed against them. I filed a lawsuit because I identified myself as a whistleblower before I was falsely accused of domestic violence. And they use those false accusations as their reasoning for firing me, where reality was, it was all about protecting their image from these sexual assault cases that were covered up more than a decade ago. And that the current sitting president, after finding out that this white male staff member raped a young woman on our campus, this current president renewed his contract several times, and then she gave him what is called continuing appointment, which is similar to tenure. She did that. This man is still there collecting full pay, full benefits on taxpayers, and the entire cover-up is the fact that instead of addressing him as an employee, they are trying to find a loophole to say, well, you know what? He committed the rape his senior year of college, and therefore it doesn't matter. He no longer poses a risk to the campus. But I disagree wholeheartedly, and I think that anyone listening along this will agree. The woman, let me finish this. The woman who was raped is still a survivor of rape. She's still a victim of rape today. If you use CCSU's logic, they would say this guy's no longer a rapist. No, he's still a rapist. He committed this rape. Chris, it never goes away.
You're absolutely right. But I got to tell you, man, first of all, it's horrible what happened to that woman. That shouldn't happen to anyone.
Correct.
Nobody should ever be subjected to something so horrible as a rape, right? But another thing that bothers me about this, brother, is that the president of Central Connecticut is an indigenous woman, and her name is Zulma Toro. And we are ashamed, sister, of your behavior. And instead of shedding some light on this stuff so it doesn't happen ever again, all you're doing is creating an environment where things like that can continue to happen by not holding these people accountable. So I'm really taken aback by that. But once again, this is going to be my theme. This is RICO. This is a state agency being protected by the state.
Right.
Why can't the feds put that together?
Let me chime in just a little bit.
Please.
So first off, bringing it back to the education focus in terms of the statements being made regarding these heinous crimes as well as abuses of power. So, Chris, in your position at CCSU, what I would like to have an understanding about is your position and your responsibility to the community. And before you answer that, what you brought up is that there is a sense of community that you value that makes for having individuals in an educational environment in higher ed feel safe in terms of bringing about specific issues that happen, criminal and otherwise, to the attention of folks that are in authority. And so in your position on CCSU's campus, what was the role? What was your purpose? And how did you add value to the community to make sure students were actually safe?
Boy, great question. So in 2003, I became the director of what was called the Office of Judicial Programs. It evolved, the name had changed to the Office of Student Conduct. My primary purpose on campus was to be an educator. And it was my role as the designee of the president and vice president for student affairs. It was my role to administer the Student Code of Conduct. The Student Code of Conduct is designed to set the behavioral standards and expectations of the community. So the whole purpose was creating a healthy community by having ethical and behavioral standards in place that would govern the entire student body, undergraduate and graduate students. So as my role, well, I won't tell you the massive amount of training that I had to go through, and the certifications and the investigatory skills that had to be maintained and well sharpened. My role in that was, again, when I said educated, if I had a student who was accused of something, as an educator, my job is to educate them on what their rights are. Because most people, as you said in the syllabus, if they don't read their syllabus, they don't know. Most students do not sit down and read the Student Code of Conduct. So when they come to me for the first time, it depends on what they do. So if a 19-year-old is drinking alcohol, they know it's underage drinking. However, I go deeper. My job is not, hey, Johnny, you got caught with a bottle of beer. That's wrong. Here's your sanction. No, Johnny, what's going on? What's causing you to drink? What's leading you to drink? Let's make sure, is it just a social thing? Is there trouble at home? Because you can even do prevention work. So part of my work was doing prevention, but also responding by doing thorough investigations, based on evidence, and making determinations what were going on. I handled cases. The highest case I probably had was an attempted murder case. It was a kidnapping case that happened off campus, and it was an attempted murder case. And just to give you an example, this individual was arrested, and the university said, expel him. So, well, how can I expel him if he can't exercise his right to attend the hearing that's set for him, so that he has a right to have a hearing? He has a right to all the due process rights he has. The only way he can attend a hearing is if he escapes jail. So therefore, we'll hold this case in abeyance until sometime he's released, and then we can take care of it if we want to. So again, it's about upholding the student's rights, which means it requires constitutional training. You have to have constitutional law training, which I did have. Clearly, no one in human resources, President Zumatora herself, or even, I would hope the university council did, none of them applied the constitutional law when it came to reviewing myself and other faculty members. And so, Dr. Bowen, I hope I answered what my role was and the purpose of that role. The value added is that you get a fair adjudicator, someone who is hopefully level-headed, someone who is evidence-driven, but also my job is not to tear down human beings. I can tell you there are a number of students that have been expelled through my signature or through my presentation of a hearing who I see on the streets, in the malls, when I'm with my children, when I see them at restaurants, who we are embracing and we are hugging because they recognize the fact that they made a mistake, They accepted responsibility. They were held accountable in a fair way, even though they were expelled from a university and permanently banned. They will still see me and remember how fairly they were treated. And they will approach me and give me a hug. They don't want to flatten my tires. We don't have that. I've only had one real negative experience where a student was expelled. Yeah, I believe that student was expelled, and that student came to my home. I was away, and that's actually the first call of service that ever happened with the Hartford Police Department, where they came to my home and terrorized my family when I was away. But yeah, I'm sorry I got off track, but that's a situation that we experienced, and I'm just recalling what that memory was like. There was still some trauma there.
Trauma that you experienced, and it's just manifesting itself right now, but it came out in a very positive way, brother.
Exactly. Yes. Again, hopefully I don't look like what I've been through. And the part that the Attorney General's office, the governor's office, Hartford Police, state attorney, the litany of folks, they don't want you to realize is that when the Hartford Police Department was weaponized against me, who was I at that moment? I was a father of 2 children who were sleeping upstairs, and the entire police force was outside. They keep trying to perpetrate that false narrative that black men can only respond in anger and aggression. They all assume that I knew why the police department was there, but every officer can tell you, not one person told me why they were at my house. Not one person told me why they wanted entry into my home, why they wanted me to waive all these constitutional rights that I knew I had. They will never tell you the true narrative is that a father was in the home, the father who had a well thought out legal emergency response training for personal defense in the home if an emergency ever arrived. They don't want to tell you that. They want you to think that the only thing we can do when they jerk on our chains that they still have around us in so many ways is that they need to get us back in line. They want to keep perpetrating the narrative that we are all dangerous and should never be a member of society and so forth. But back, Dr. Bowen, the issue with CCSU, I think as it relates to my case, all dates back to 2010. In 2010, Moises Salinas was the chief diversity officer. He was the top official on campus to deal with sexual assault, sexual harassment, and he himself was arrested for sexual assault and unlawful restraint of a female student. It was a bad time for CCSU in the press. Okay, he was arrested, and in, the incident happened sometime in February of 2010. The university knew about it. He was arrested for that later on in August of 2010, and after his arrest, he pled no contest, and he was convicted. And one of the things the judge said was that he used that position, I'm paraphrasing here, used that position in a way that parents don't assume that university officials would. He used it in a way to his power and authority to abuse this young woman. Okay?
Wow.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, though, because I need to bring this back in terms of community.
Yes.
Now, it appears to me that the definition of community, or rather the acting out of community, is missing in terms of the types of behaviors that we are seeing in respective environments, whether it be higher ed, whether it be in our neighborhoods, anywhere, right? So when it is that crimes are being done by individuals that hold positions within organizations whereby the evidence that is going to clear or convict someone is not being utilized as the scope of which things are formed, and you now start putting in a lot of different aspects in terms of humanities, emotionalisms, and biases, and so on and so forth. Let me narrow this up. Community. Where is it that you have seen that community has actually been demonstrated where the value of the people in this entire journey is being placed as the focus in terms of doing no harm. Have you seen that in terms of community? Well, maybe we need to start off with your definition of community first, and then dive into that question.
Let's come back.
Well, before we do that, 'cause that's kind of winding. Let's take a break.
Right.
And then we'll come back. Executive summarize the question, and then we'll let Brother Chris dive into that. All right. Stick and stay. It's more to talk. Take a short break. We'll be right back. All right. Don't go anywhere. It's just going to get better. Where else can you find out information such as this? Because, there's like an information blackout. It's like the news and most information has just become entertainment. It doesn't inform, enrich, or investigate to dig at.
You got to remember, entertainment.
At the truth. Well, hold that thought. I'm trying to go to the break, Cacique. Not go into another section. We're gonna come back and deal with Dr. Maya question first. All right, stick and stay. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Every bad political decision is made by a politician elected to office. So if you think your vote doesn't matter, just remember this. There are people sitting with politicians in a back room making deals about your future, making policies about your children, making decisions about your neighborhood. To them, you are just a vote. You are not their cause. You are just a vote. Elections have consequences, and if you don't vote, you are actually voting to keep these people in power to work against you. Now more than ever, you need to make your vote count. It's time to clear the air and vote for a mayor that is unbought, unbossed, trusted, and accountable to you, the constituent. My name is J. McCauley, and I am an independent thinker, and I approve this message. I'm asking you for your vote on Tuesday, September the 12th, 2023, in the Democratic Party primary election for mayor of the city of Hartford. For more information, visit McCauleyformayor.com. Have the courage to vote your conscience and vote for the name you trust and know. Vote J. Stan McCauley for mayor.
Hi.
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and
Well,
you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, my friends, welcome back. Morning Talk. Everybody's here. Let's jump right back into the conversation here. Dr. Bowen.
Yes. Before we left, I was asking Christopher his definition of community based on, the environments that we find ourselves in. People may see it in a variety of ways, but in terms of defining community on the CCSU campus and in regards to your journey, how would you define community, Chris?
I define community as a common core of values, but also I have the knowledge that not every member of your community buys into those. It's all about who they are and where they are and who they represent in so many ways. This is what I used to teach our students. It is some people are there. For example, on a college campus, you have a math department. Well, and you have a theater department. You have a music department. You have an athletic department. Depending on which department you fall in, there's a different community. There's a different community standards within that. But when we think about the broader universe, I think as diverse as it gets, the more people you add, there are fewer things that we may have in common. But I believe at CCSU, I would hope that the common core we have is integrity, honesty, that liberty is important to folks, and that we do everything we can to elevate each other and not destroy each other. And when behaviors or actions fall outside of that, then we need to remedy it in a way. So in my personal opinion, based on all the evidence that I have accumulated over the years, and no, I don't believe it's fitting to have a university president, and in this case, Zumo Toro, sitting in a seat professing that one of her top priorities is keeping the campus safe when she knowingly has a rapist on staff, when she knowingly, by her signature, fired an innocent black man, that being me, in 2018 and still continue to today, almost 5 years later, professing that I engaged in behavior that the evidence supports otherwise. So again, they are holding on to a bucket of accusations that they have never been able to corroborate because that incident never happened. That's the problem that they have. And the reason for my lawsuit is to bring transparency to this matter. And one of the things I will ask folks to do, and I know I'm going beyond your answer, main reason why I really wanted to come today is this lawsuit is set to go to trial in November of 2023. The Attorney General's office is working very hard to prevent this incident from seeing the light of day. They want to preserve the false narrative that they are honest, that there's a high level of integrity. The Attorney General's office responds to we the people. Right. And you're not supposed to be involved in corruption as they are. So my call to action for anyone listening to this is that you go to the Connecticut Judicial website, you go under the civil cases, or you search a docket for number N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy, H. So that's NNH dash CV dash 21 dash 60111 and the letter S as in Sam. Please go there and download every document you can that's on that website pertaining the motion for summary judgment. There you will find my deposition that was taken in November. You will find the sworn written affidavit from President Zumo Toro, her university counsel, Carolyn Magnan, and her human resources officer, Anna, and I won't butcher her last name here on there. It's critical because in those documents, they are hiding two of the cases of employees who were treated as students. Two employees who committed sexual misconduct against female students. These are the cases that I blew the whistle on. And this is the reason why they fired me, because we were set to meet with a firm. I was told they were auditors, but now later on I learned it was a firm that was being brought in to investigate these cases and see how they were handled. As a courtesy, I let the presidents know that she didn't realize the cases that she was uncovering. And I met with her and I exposed these cases. To give you an example, one person who texted a student received a 5-year suspension from the university as a student and was banned from all property pertaining to CSU. That is Central Southern Eastern Western state universities and all the community colleges for 5 years. However, the individual who actually raped someone was only suspended for 5 months and was never banned. And he was never banned because that ban would have cost him his job. He would not have been able to report to campus. So when we talk about community, where's the integrity there? It's a betrayal. Granted, it happened before President Toro was there. However, after she knew about it, she sustained the lie. And the purpose that they are trying to use for redacting all the information on these cases is they are protecting these white men who committed these egregious offenses against female students. They are hiding it under FERPA, which protects student records. That's the whole reason why they put them under student records, is so that they would have this protection. There would be a lack of transparency. There would be no accountability for these individuals.
I want to tie that in. So in terms of community and accountability, so I just pulled up a definition of accountability, and it's stating that accountability in terms of ethics and governance is equated with answerability, blameworthiness, liability, and the expectation of account giving. I'll say that one more time. Accountability in terms of ethics and governance is equated with answerability, blameworthiness, liability, and the expectation of account giving. And so when you tie that in to the community dynamic, according to what it is that you have laid before us today, there is a lack of accountability based on the evidence. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. When we talk about the evidence, you're talking about the evidence in my case, correct?
Absolutely.
Thank you, because that's the point. They keep wheeling out these accusations and they say, our investigation revealed that you engaged in this misconduct on this night. Great. What evidence? Will you please show us? Because they can't. They can't show us evidence for an incident that didn't happen. It was all false. It was all proven to be false. So therefore, how could you arrive at that decision? No, it had nothing to do with that. It was smoke and mirrors. The truth of it is they didn't want to show that back in 2010 and then later in 2011 that the administrators in charge there hid this case. They even hid it from the university council, who was there for 9 years when these cases came about in 2011 and then 2013. She was there. They hid it from the university council. That's corruption. The university council knew nothing about Matthew Sedlak, who was the math professor, and I can share his name because it was publicly in the newspaper. He sexually harassed a young woman, requesting that he perform oral sex on her while he gave her a makeup exam. See, they won't tell you that. They're hiding that. That's egregious. He scared that young lady to thinking that she failed his course, and the only way she could pass is by taking this exam at his apartment, and then he asked for oral sex. The other individual raped a young woman, and they're hiding these cases, okay? I brought them forward because of transparency, and the accountability that they claim these individuals received was not appropriate under any circumstances, and they know it. So again, they perpetrate the false accusations against me. Now, they said their investigation can prove that I hit, choked, restrained, and threatened my now ex-wife. And I'm asking them, where's your please show the public all of your evidence that you have showing that I did this. They have not one piece of evidence. Instead, me being the investigator I am, I pulled together all the evidence. It's hard to prove a negative, but I did, and they know it. And that's why they dropped all cases. You know, Dr. Maya, if I was responsible for strangling, kidnapping a woman, I should be in jail right now. Where's the accountability of letting me go? There is none. But the accountability, what they're trying to do is they keep me away from my children. They keep me away from the job that I rightfully won back 2 years ago when an arbitrator said that they rushed to judgment, they bought false accusations, and they ran wild with them, and they did me harm. This is why we are waiting the Supreme Court decision that should hopefully come down any day now. The case was heard back in November. We want that ruling because that ruling should, if justice is to be served, rightfully reinstate me. And really, we need to continue on this path of transparency and accountability because those who have perpetrated this fraud using taxpayer dollars need to be held accountable. So the solutions I'm looking for, I believe that William Tong himself needs to step down. I believe that any of his assistants who have perpetrated these lies, especially the one who testified before the Supreme Court, need to be removed. CCSU needs to remove Zuma Toro. The other parties have since retired. I think that the state attorney needs to step down in Hartford because she's aware of this and she hasn't brought it forward. And if the FBI continues to ignore the corruption that the Hartford police was involved in this, the corruption that even my ex-wife and her partner engaged in all of this, all of those people who had a hand in perpetrating these crimes against me and my children need to be held accountable. And if they don't,
just so the audience is clear, I don't believe that these people should step down. I think these people need to be prosecuted because they have knowingly, willingly, and consciously, hid and kept omitted information that was relevant to the case that could have settled all of this a long time ago. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you 100%.
Would have never been fired. None of this would have happened. So having these people resign and stuff like that is not enough.
No.
Because they are involved in an ongoing criminal conspiracy, brother.
I agree. That is also part of the accountability that they should have. I totally agree with you. But again, what I hope comes out of this, when we get true transparency, we find out how many other people have experienced this. And I think that's part of the reason why they don't want to continue to keep this lid off. That I keep.
See, I have a different question than you. My question would be not how many other people experience that, but how many other people have they covered up for that have done this? You see that question?
Yes, I do, and that comes true. Right. But again, my heart.
Because if not, by letting Tong and Zuma and all these other people go, you're recommending the same nonsense that they did with D'Angelo.
I know.
Right?
I hear you.
They're gonna let him go. Retire. Go.
Right.
And nothing happens. We cannot continue to do that. If we're gonna have accountability, people need to be held accountable, and they have to be prosecuted for the crimes that they commit. These are not breaking the rules or a slide or you made an offhanded comment. These are crimes that are being committed, and I want to know not just how many other people has this happened to, but how many of their own have they covered up for?
I agree, but here's the point: is my mission is not vengeance. My mission is we can't hold them accountable without knowing fully what did they do. So transparency must come first. We have to find out first how many people have been affected by this system of corruption. And then when we find out how many, then we can choose. Why hold them accountable for 10 when it actually affected thousands, right?
Right, and we're going to get transparency, Chris, when we demand accountability.
Right, but again, transparency has to come first.
So in order to get the transparency, in order to hold them accountable, you have to have the proof
yes
necessary to charge or to bring it back, because the accusation, because there's an accusation being made.
Yes.
But why is that like that?
But hold on, let me finish. There's accusations being made against Chris, and it seems as though it's a perpetual accusation until you have your day in court. You're in a constant state of being accused. Mm-hmm. They're using
Chris cannot be guilty before
let me finish though. Let me finish. So the case that I heard at the Supreme Court, because I watched that when it was live, seems to me that they know you didn't do anything.
Correct.
But the accusation there, if I understand and remember,
yes,
they're saying that the accusation gave them the justification.
Right.
But if the accusation gave them the justification, the proof that you didn't do it would seem to now clear you and you should get your job back. That seemed to be the case that they were making.
Yes.
Right? And I guess the state is trying to cover itself.
Correct.
From any liability, which means that they know that there is liability if they don't defend themselves.
Right.
So everyone here seems to be culpable in acting out in a way that was harmful to you, continues to be harmful to you, and until you get your day to prove to prove that you didn't do this.
Right.
I mean, they know you didn't.
Correct.
But that can only be determined in the court, which they keep putting off.
It's determined before them, because when you are accused...
Here's the other point that I want to make, brother.
Go ahead.
Why is it that the accusations that are made against you are rolled out with the impression and appearance that they are legitimate and that they are correct and that we have to follow this? But then when you say, wait a minute, I have some accusations of my own, and I want them to be held in high esteem just like these other accusations are. We can't sit on this show or in any other show as people or black and brown people, right, and act like that's okay.
It's not okay.
That's not okay.
It's not okay.
Right, that's not okay, and we have to say that, because what's happening with Chris, I don't know if you noticed this, brother, but you said earlier that the university was going through a lot of bad publicity.
Yes.
Right? At that time?
Yes.
And it makes sense
now.
to me. It makes sense to me that and this is just some white boy stuff. This is how they move, right? It makes sense to me that they would create a black monster, right?
Yes.
To replace the real monsters, which are the white rapists at the school, right? And the other criminals, because that's what they are. See, I like to use words to make me feel like I'm being descriptive in my experiences, right?
Yes.
So what they did is they created a fake black monster to get rid of the real white monsters. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Now they took the publicity, they took the scope is off of them, is on you.
Yes.
But here's the thing. We cannot say that just that the accusations allow them to investigate, because like Stan so aptly stated,
right,
in the midst of their investigation, they should have quickly found out that these were false. And
Correct.
So they made it, once again, they made a willing and a knowing and a conscious decision to continue under false premises, to try to prosecute you on the false premises.
Correct.
That's RICO.
Correct.
Once again, that's RICO.
Correct. So Kasiki, again, let's put these accusations to bed once and for all. These accusations that were made against me in 2018, when they were confronted with the evidence, the state had no choice but to drop every single criminal charge. Why? Because those accusations were dwarfed by the evidence. They were completely obliterated by the evidence, including DNA evidence, okay? So they had to drop it, but what they should have done was accepted responsibility. We made a mistake. We're going to charge the person who falsely accused you and put your children in danger. They didn't, because that's what they do. As Ed Vargas had told me, they circle the wagons and they protect themselves.
Well,
so what happened
that's what
again?
White people do, brother.
Right, exactly. Now move down to DCF. When DCF was confronted, those accusations were confronted with the evidence. DCF reversed everything. In arbitration, those accusations were brought forward. What happened when the evidence was measured up against the accusations? The evidence won, and I was reinstated temporarily to my job before the Attorney General's office swept in and then found probably a crooked judge to vacate it, something that never happens in this state of Connecticut. Rarely, extremely rarely, which is why we should prevail at the Supreme Court. So again, when I bring my accusations up against them, the evidence supports my accusations. This is what's different. And what they are doing is limiting the public's access to the evidence and keeping them misguided and misdirected on false accusations. It is dishonest, and that's why these people shouldn't be there.
You hear me? I have to correct you and forgive me for this.
Go ahead, no.
But you know,
community.
And please help me, because
I will.
You know, I'm 63 and I'm losing my mind, but there are no accusations against you because they were all dismissed.
I agree, but you had stated earlier.
So the reason that I'm saying that, brother, is because their suit or their move to have your stuff dismissed is without merit.
Thank you.
Without merit.
That's what I've been saying. Those accusations are dead. Yeah. That's what I said. Let's kill those. They're dead already. Because in this country, you are innocent until proven guilty. They are trying to prevent me from proving them guilty.
Your case has not been like that. That's what I said, sustain.
Yes.
Chris cannot be guilty.
Correct.
Before he had his day in court. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to say to all our family out there, to all our viewers and our listeners, that my heart is not on revenge or vengeance.
Right.
That's not what I'm about.
I agree.
I am the person that says that we must study our history so it doesn't repeat itself. Right?
Yes.
And so I am not for vengeance. I am for accountability.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I'm for. And those are different words for people who don't understand that, and they're spelled differently too.
Yes, sir.
In case you have problems understanding what I'm saying.
All right. Stick and stay, my friends. Wait. Hold on. We're up against the break. Good points being made by the panel.
Yes.
All right, yeah. You've never been guilty.
Never.
Guilt can only be determined in a court of law. So everyone is innocent.
Yes.
Until proven guilty.
Right.
Absolutely.
But if we're going to use the same measuring stick that the government uses on us, then the government's already guilty. We don't even have to go to trial. We just lock them all up.
Right.
Stick and stay. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Morning Talk. Cacique, Dr. Bowen, special guest Chris Dukes, live. Don't go anywhere. Greatest music in the world, jazz. Jay Hogarth on the vibraphone. This is Jay Hogarth, his latest project. Raise Your Spirit Consciousness. Track 9, Deluge. Oh, yeah. Recorded live, by the way. Van Gelder Studio. Legendary studio. All the Blue Note jazz albums were recorded. Stick and stay, we'll be right back.
How do you define evil? Is evil the pedophile school administrator or taxation without representation? Is it the gatekeeping community leaders who sell out the very people they were elected to fight for? Or is evil the politician that puts out lies and takes in cash? However you may classify evil, having to choose the lesser of two evils still leaves you with evil. Nowhere does this rule apply more than during an election for mayor. Choosing a candidate who is the lesser of two evils still leaves you with evil. No wonder so many people don't vote. It's time for the constituents to flip the script and vote for a mayor you can trust. My name is Jason McCauley. I am an independent thinker, and I approve this message. I'm asking you for your vote on Tuesday, September the 12th, 2023, in the Democratic Party primary election for mayor for the city of Hartford. I, like you, am an independent thinker. So let's sit down and talk about my path to victory and why my 5-point plan for Hartford will work. Stop listening to the uninformed evil interests that tell you I can't win. For more information, visit McCauleyformayor.com. Have the courage to vote your conscience. Vote for the name you trust and know. Vote McCauley for mayor.
Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Oh, yeah. All right, everybody's back.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful,
Yes, sir.
Stan. Hey, Stan, I just want to say that I approve that message, man.
That
Stan McCauley for mayor 2023. Let's get out there, family. Let's have the courage to promote and to support Stan so we can take Hartford back.
Amen to that.
Stan McCauley for mayor. Let's go.
Do it. Let's do it. I wanted to ask Chris the following. Chris, in terms of your reinstatement, can you paint us a picture of what that looks like in regards to what the arbitration found to be rightfully your position on the campus of CCSU?
I certainly can, and thank you for that opportunity to express that, because when it was documented back in 2020, the Hartford Courant put their own spin on it, and they pretty much tied the reinstatement to the fact that the criminal charges were dropped. That is not accurate. What is accurate is that this arbitrator clearly indicated that CCSU rushed to judgment and that the accusations were not truthful based on all the evidence. He actually used the evidence to justify everything, every finding that he had. He used evidence, not accusation. He used the evidence to contradict every false accusation that was made. And he also acknowledged that there were a litany of individuals, students, faculty, even law enforcement on campus who wanted me back at work, who recognized that my stellar career, again, I worked at CCSU for over 22 years. I had nothing less than excellent evaluations, no criminal history, no disciplinary history of any kind. And he saw that. You don't turn into the boogeyman overnight, okay? Right. So he believed that I should not only be reinstated to that position that I did exceedingly well and was recognized nationally for doing the level of work I was doing in that position. He also believed that I should have been made whole, financially compensated for what had happened to me, all of my back pay. Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
That was the arbitrator's decision, and that never made any media outlet. So everyone who rushed to judgment up front to poison the pool of potential jurors in the case, that's the intention. The media is weaponized against us to poison every jury or potential juror beforehand. The state made this a high-profile case, and they retreated very quickly, stating that they dropped the charges for the sake of my children, who they're still keeping away from me, right? So the point is, if I was a defense attorney, I would be filing a motion to get every client ever had who had a child and say, I want the Chris Dukes exception. I want my client out of jail today. If the state is saying that a person doesn't have to go to jail for the sake of their children, then everybody should be out. Every single parent should be out of jail. So again, I see this mass exodus is what I'm hoping to see, because I think we are going to uncover all the people that were harmed by this.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
So what does the end game look like for you now?
Right now, I'm on a continued mission. My job right now, I've taken on a personal mission, myself and a couple of other co-founders. We have founded what's called the American Justice Project. And I can't go into full details right now. We have not done a full launch. We've done a soft launch on social media. And we have been working behind the scenes to address mass incarceration. And specifically, we're trying to address mass incarceration from the forefront, from the pre-trial. As we know, there are hundreds of thousands of individuals who are innocent, who are sitting in jails right now because they can't afford bail. Either they were overcharged, bail was set far too high for them, and they're sitting in jail as innocent Americans, innocent people in jail who have not been convicted of any crimes yet. And what's going to happen when the state pushes a piece of paper in front of them saying, you can get out today, all you have to do is say you did this. And so many people will do that. 95% of our cases in our country are resolved by plea bargains. I question the integrity of every single one of them. Knowing what I know now, people will succumb to what we call the chokehold. Author Paul Butler wrote a book a couple of years ago, The Chokehold, and it was about policing blacks in America. But I say that the chokehold applies to a number of people, but disproportionately black and brown people, we know as a fact. We know that in more than 60% of wrongful convictions, that about 60% of them involve some form of false accusation, and more than half of them involve official misconduct. That's police, prosecutor, and judges. We know that as a fact. Jessica Henry pointed that out in her book, Smoke But No Fire. Okay, that's exactly what my case was. Smoke, but no fire. Okay, so the issue is, what are we doing? One of our pillars, well, we have 3 pillars in the American Justice Project. The first one is injustice disruption. And one of the ways we are disrupting this injustice that's not only happened in Connecticut is that we are doing pre-trial assessments. And we're trying to look for these no crime situations. There's been close to 1,000 no crime exonerations in our country already. So that's one of the areas. The next pillar is transparency and accountability. We are trying to increase and remove all the barriers that right now are prohibiting transparency and accountability. And lastly, it's public education. A number of our nonprofits out there are doing public education. We want to educate the public that this is going on, and the way that we can hold our elected officials accountable is either demand they step down, demand criminal prosecutions if those are warranted, and We vote in somebody new. I can tell you, as a citizen of Hartford, I truly believe if Luke Bronin had not been the mayor during this time of my family's tragedy, and someone like Stan McCauley was mayor, this would not be going on. See, because Luke Bronin swept this under the rug to protect the Hartford Police Department and to protect the city of Hartford. That is not good business. If the city acts out, Dr. Meyer, going back to your comment about community, if someone within the city, in no matter what office, you commit a crime or offense against someone, the city should do the appropriate remedy, make the citizen whole, and prevent that situation from ever happening again. Say again?
Due diligence, Chris.
Yes.
Due diligence.
Exactly.
It never happened.
Yeah.
So I think that, for me, brother, and I hate to characterize it like this, but this is how I feel, but, people like Luke Bronin have no humanity. So they can't see what you're going through. They can't relate to your experience. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So this is the difference. And this is why I say, once again, family, let's elect Stan McCauley for mayor. Let's make a change in Hartford for the better.
All right. Let me go back to that, too. Over these years, I take advantage of the public comment section of our city council meetings. I have been speaking in front of the city council since December 14th of 2020. Any person who is currently sitting on that council and was on the council back then who knows about this family tragedy and has done nothing to help, even despite being presented with the evidence, does not belong in office. This is why, in my personal opinion, someone like Nick Negron, Nick, if you're listening to this, you need to step down today. You need to exit out of, you should be off city council. That's one. Two, you should not be running for mayor. How in the world could I possibly, or anyone in my family, cast a vote for you when you knowingly allowed this matter to continue under your watch? How could we trust you with the office of the mayor? Well, no,
I'm going to tell you how.
Go ahead.
These are all Luke Bronin's puppets.
Oh, I know that's how it happened.
They did not make a decision.
But, yeah.
That's why, family, once again, let's elect someone that is not connected to a particular political party. He is not the mayor's puppet. He is not Bruce Rubenstein's puppet. Do I need to name people here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's elect someone who is impartial and is going to deal with issues.
Thank you.
And something like what happened to Chris would never happen under his watch.
Let me keep on going with that.
For mayor 2023.
I agree with you. Now we go back to Jimmy Sanchez. I don't have anything personally, even though Jimmy Sanchez's inaction as a city council member hurt my family personally. How could I ever cast a vote for a Jimmy Sanchez who knows all about my case, yet when he had the power to do something, he chose not to go against the Democratic Party, chose not to go against Luke Bronin, and so forth. And my family has suffered. So again, Jimmy Sanchez is now my state rep for my district. I want to see, what is Jimmy going to do?
The same thing. He's going to do the same thing for you that he did as a city council. Nothing.
And that's what I'm expecting.
Because in Hartford, the people don't really have. Look, here's what's happening. Hartford is like run like a plantation. The white people come and do whatever they want, and then we have our white supremacy supporters in our own communities, right? But then when you look at the Working Families Party, right? They pretend to be with the community, but the Working Families is an organization that has no people of color in leadership, and it hasn't had for years.
Right.
And then they pretend that they can go around the state and pick color candidates, right?
Right.
Because I remember when Levy Cardulas, who's a phenomenal brother, wanted their support, they wouldn't support him,
right? Because
he would not bow down to them.
Yep.
So we don't have an independent political party in Hartford that that's not associated with the Democrats or the Republicans or these other make-believe parties, which don't include us.
Right.
So
I want to throw a question to Dr. Maya.
I have a touch point. Lou, you stated that the working parties doesn't have any candidates of color, but I would state that we do have.
No, I didn't say that they don't have any candidates of color, Dr. Maya. What I said was
leadership.
Is that they don't have any candidates of color in their leadership.
In their
not running.
Okay, so can you describe what leadership is? Because I would state that there is a woman of color on the board of education that is in leadership in terms of being a board member. But I want to know what it is that
they must have just got him on there.
Nope. She's been there for a while. Shantae Brody is part of the Working Families Party, and so she's been there in the trenches, going through all the non-transparent things that the board goes through. So you know, it's few and far in between. I would agree with that, but
and they have no power. They have no say because they fall on deaf ears. And if Shantae Brody, listen, if Shantae Brody is doing so much, if Shantae Brody is not rewriting all the policies and procedures of the Board of Ed, then she's there doing the same thing that Jimmy Sanchez and the other guys are doing nothing.
Lou, let me say something. First of all of us is just one vote, and it's not a one-person job. When it is that you come together as a collective to make changes, you are going to gather up as a team, because my mantra is teamwork makes the dream work. So how does my one vote, even being justified by what evidence was presented or was not presented, actually outvote everybody else that are going in the opposite direction? Right. So here's the thing: we got to look at it full and its totality.
Totality of circumstances.
Can't get it done. One person cannot get this done, and so with putting in all the energy and sacrifice that's being made in any position. Now, keep in mind that's not a paid position, so you have to dive into and look at and then make decisions on what's being presented and what's not being presented in terms of transparency and accountability. So I would beg to differ that this thing can be done by just one individual. Because if I cast my
I never said that. I never said that, Dr. Maya.
I'm just saying, no, but that's how I'm taking it in.
Right.
Because here's the thing.
I just feel like you're just confirming my point.
Lou, let me just state this. If you're saying that she's part of the problem, or a person is part of the problem, where it is that when it is that they cast a vote and try to make change, that one vote is not going to get that ship to change. Okay, so no matter how much work one person is trying to do, it takes a collective, which means that we come back full circle to community.
And she
thank you for confirming my point.
But I think so. We can have, this is a broader discussion we can have at another time. But I fully endorse and confirm that. Sister Shantae is fully on board, and I think if you had a conversation with her, Cacique, you would understand. But having
and you know, here's the thing: I don't even know why you all are defending her, because I'm not attacking her. I'm just saying that when we have a wonderful person like Shantae Brody in any position like this, she's absolutely useless because she doesn't have the votes to make any change. And I also want to say that I don't believe in.
She's not useless, though. She's not useless.
And I'm not trying to
be at the table to try to attempt to get that change done. We're never going to get anything done. I disagree. You
could, and that's your right, but I'm not going.
So let's park this issue so we can wrap up with Brother Chris and let him finish on his course there. So go on.
Yes,
Brother
sir.
Chris.
So again, I think what was painful obvious to us in our country is, and what we're just discussing here, diversity is not the answer or the sole answer. We do need diversity and representation, but as we saw in Memphis, Tennessee, you know, with the murder of Tyree Nichols, okay? If it's white supremacy that drove those officers that did that, diversity is not the sole answer. We can have people of color in power, and they can still be just as destructive, putting forth those same principles that were designed to keep us down, to keep us in our place.
That's what I've been saying all along.
I know you have. So when I hear
the black people, if all the racist white people left America today, black and brown people will be committing racist acts against each other tomorrow.
And we go.
It's in the laws, it's in the rules, and it's in the regulations. You can't get away from it.
So again,
let him finish his
so if I go back to, I don't
attack
William Tong personally. By all means, I know he has children around my age. I've heard him reference to having an 11-year-old recently, and my son is 9. My daughter's 15. And what my point is, here he is, a person of color, in power and influence, and he has chosen to go on this narrative and this agenda rather than remedy and represent people appropriately. But when I listen to a Nick Negron and a John Fafara talking about our city deteriorating, and they've been in charge, how in the world?
Their watch.
Yeah, on their watch, the city's on fire. Our neighborhoods are deteriorating. So don't boast about being in power for 30-some years, and there's been a 30-year decline that has affected the people of Hartford. You can't do that.
That's like
I would hope.
That's like a firefighter.
Yes.
Go into the scene of the property that is burning and not whipping out a hose or turning on that fire hydrant.
They're saving the water for their own house. See what I'm saying?
Oh, not even.
Yeah.
It's like the firemen bringing some gas to the fire.
Thank you. That's the other part. Or, hey, they bring their popcorn to the fire and watch. So John Farfara, the reason why I mentioned him.
Or even worse, they have set the fire and then they arrive.
Ooh, there you go. There you go.
Well, I think we can put all of the above.
Right.
Yeah. Plus a couple more.
Right.
That's right.
I'm approaching next month. I will be effectively a Hartford citizen for 19 years. John Fafara has been my state senator. He knows all about this situation affecting me, my children, yet and still, for whatever reason, I don't want to come up with a reason because he's never explained to me why he won't use his position to end what we've called a modern day lynching of me and my children. And so
absolutely,
how can you possibly have the gall to stand before the people of Hartford and ask to be their mayor when this is how you really behave behind the scenes? So again, there are some great people out there. I'm looking forward to a change in administration. It's overdue, and the people of Hartford need something better. We do. We deserve it. We pay for it, right? So let's do the right thing. Let's use between now and March to make sure we get the right individuals in office come November. I have been, again, a strong supporter of Stan because I've gotten a chance to see Stan throughout the last couple of years. Being a man of God is important to me in so many reasons, just because it's your driving force. It guides you. Stan is not a person who I believe will allow the level of corruption that has been going on for decades to continue. So again, I don't think there's anything that's ever going to change my mind on that part. So again, I appreciate the opportunity of coming on here. I don't know how much time we have left, but I just want to be clear that I hope people will listen to this message, share this message, but more important, the call to action is to go to the website, the judicial website, look up, the case name is Christopher Dukes, plaintiff, versus Central Connecticut State University, the defendant. Please download as much of that information as you can because your Attorney General's office is attempting to have these documents sealed come March 20th. All right, so get as much as you can. I will also point to you that Black Lives Matter 860, BLM 860 had made a discovery in this case, and they have been putting it all over Twitter. They believe that they've identified who this rapist is, and they've put the information about how they found out, and it's all over their feed. I don't tweet, so I don't know how to use that, but someone had sent the message to me, and I think people should take a look at it, and we need to demand action because it's time to make sure that our tax dollars are going to the righteous way of conducting business on behalf of taxpayers.
All right.
Absolutely, yes. And thank you so much, Chris, for coming on, man. It's been wonderful. The information that you share has been great. And I have a message for my Hartford family, right? We have an opportunity to do something great, something that's going to benefit all of us. Please, I want all my black and brown people, please reclaim your identity. And let's elect Stan McCauley for mayor. Let's make some significant positive changes in the lives of our families, our children, and our community. Peace, family. Thank you so much.
Yes. And so I just wanted to just lastly state, based on one of the the key words that we talked about during this segment: accountability. So here I found 5 ways to foster a culture of accountability. Number 1, give support. Number 2, provide freedom. Number 3, share information. Number 4, provide resources. And number 5, be clear. And this message comes from the Center for Creative Leadership. And so with that being said, let's develop a culture of accountability. Peace, everyone.
All right. Final words, sir?
God bless us all.
Amen.
Bless us all.
Amen.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, my friends, our time together has come to an end. Always remember that the real power is with y'all, with you all. You all are the ones with the real power. And don't let the quote unquote powers that be intimidate you. They'll try their best, but you all always have the power. You have the power of your voice, the power of coming together to make change, and they'll try and intimidate you. But I thank the participants in today's program for their support, but I'm applying for a job. So I will always work for you, and it's been my contention for 40 years that the elected officials work for you.
Yes.
I refuse to shrink in the presence of an elected official. They work for you. You're the constituent. Make them come in the back door. You have a special event, tell them, the help comes in the back. Senator, you go in the back, come in. We receive our guests in the front. You're not a guest, you're an employee. The help comes in the back. Nothing personal. You applied for the job, right? So you're servants. All right, so yeah. Great information share. Brother, I hope and I pray that things don't get sealed up. Be nice if that stayed open, because people need to know what's going on.
Absolutely.
They need to know what's going on.
Absolutely.
So I hope we were able to give you somewhat of a platform to get this message out. I can guarantee you they heard you.
I guarantee it too. Let's hope this time they don't fire bullets at me anymore.
Amen.
Real
Well,
bullets.
it's like Luke Brown said. There's more of us watching. There's more of them watching than more of us.
Always. All right, my friends, our time together has come to an end. We will see you here next time. It's Morning Talk. Let's go out with our favorite jazz musician here, Jay Hogart. See you next time. Bye-bye. Have a great rest of your day.
All right.
Hey, Hartford, Connecticut, I'm talking to you. We gotta get out and vote. Vote for Stan McCauley. It's our time. We gotta rise up and take it back. Vote for Stan McCauley.
Vote for Stan. You gotta vote for Stan McCauley. Vote for Stan. Vote for Stan. Oh yeah.
It's more than politics than just what your social covers. And it ain't somewhere written down in bold letters. Don't just take my word for it, do your research. Think of your future, look at your bigger picture. Shooting tie, clean up, unity for the righteous. Plotting on action, hands-on access. With a light source vision, door-to-door knocking. Guerrilla style marketing, brainstorm as a collective. Real neighborhood suggestions. Only we know what it is, where we living. To make real life decisions. Move on facts, make it manifest back.
You gotta vote for Stan McCauley. Vote for Stan. Vote for Stan. Vote for Stan. Oh yeah. Look at your city. Stop. Take a look around. Is opportunity flow into your house? Are you working? Wait, can you save some money? And is your neighborhood safe? Or is it a homicide every night?
Senior. Many of you may know me as the two-time welterweight champion of the world. I'm here to tell you that Democrat J. Stan McCauley, as our next mayor, will fight for you until the last bell. Help me throw a knockout punch. Go out and vote for Stan the man.
My name's J. Stan McCauley, and I approve this message.